What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel for another video. This one is going to be a topic that was brought up a little bit ago. I got asked, what kind of boat did you start tournament fishing in? And I just thought that was a really interesting question. You know, with today's boats and all the technology and everything, a lot of people are asking, like, do you need all that stuff to get into bass fishing? First of all, absolutely not. You can go fishing off the bank. You can go fishing however you want to go fishing. You do not need to start out with $30,000+ worth of electronics on your boat, first of all. Now, obviously, the reason I have it, fishing at a higher level, trying to be competitive, I want every advantage that I can. That's why I run the best stuff. That's why I use Garmin. That's why I use ProGuide batteries, SeaClear power harnesses, Mercury motors, power poles. All of that slapped on this Bass Cat to make me as competitive as I can be. But that is not how I got started. So I guess, like, technically the first boat that I ever had was a paddle boat. My mom bought me a paddle boat and I would go pond hopping in it, and I would pull it to the pond on basically like a little wood hauling trailer that you would just pull behind you with a couple 2x4s on it to brace the whole sides of the paddle boat. And I would just pull it onto ponds and dump the boat in, jump in it, and go fish from sun up to sundown. I joined a bass club when I was 14, and I had a couple guys in the club that would always take me out. Chris Wenzel started taking me out a bunch in his boat. I started fishing tournaments with him, and then my good buddy Tim Erickson started taking me out with him. And so I jumped around in a couple different boats, and then fishing in a bass club too. I jumped in a bunch of other people's boats too, like Troy Kilgus and Jim Barzak and a bunch of other people that were in my club. There was some hammers in my club, so I got to learn from some really cool people and fish out of a bunch of different boats. But my first bass boat, my legit bass boat, was a 1994 Champion 191 DCX with a Mercury 225 on the back. Now, that hull is not rated for that big of an engine. It's rated for a 200. That's the biggest you can put on it. But let's just say the guy who I bought the boat from, it was pretty sketchy. I mean, the boat was pretty beat up. It was pretty weathered. It was scratched. It was tore up. It was a Mississippi River boat. But I was totally infatuated with this thing. I thought it was the baddest boat on H2O. I just loved it. I spent all my time in it. And when I started, it had a Minn Kota 4-Trax on the front. It was a 24-volt Minn Kota trolling motor on the front. No graphs on it whatsoever. And I took this thing all over Wisconsin fishing, everywhere and anywhere. I took it down to Illinois too, fishing a couple lakes earlier in the season. And that's the boat that I learned to fish out of. I would go out on Winnebago just with the really basic knowledge, and just stuck to fishing shallow a lot and visual cover. And I did the same thing on another lake close to where I grew up in Green Lake. Crystal clear water, and I would just go around the edges of the lake following the grass edge, throwing a jerkbait and a drop shot and a tube, and I would catch a bunch of fish on it. I mean, it was so much fun. Couple upgrades that I did, I bought an electronic unit for it that had side imaging, down imaging, but I only had one at the console. I did not have one up front. So what I would do is I had the one at the console rigged on a ram mount, so I would just turn it around so I could see how deep it was and where I was on the map. I made it work. I mean, I didn't have a lot of money. I was 19 years old, just got my first full-time job working at Mercury Marine, and I was just making it work, spending all the time I could out on the water, and it was a blast. I mean, we caught a lot of fish, started fishing tournaments out of it, especially after I got the electronic unit on there. That made it a lot more feasible to fish tournaments, because like I wanted a side image, I wanted to graph stuff, I wanted to see where I was fishing. I wanted to start fishing offshore, you know, because that's where a lot of big smallmouth were caught. And you know, I love largemouth fishing too, but like I always had this infatuation with smallmouth. I really wanted a power pole, so I bought a power pole. Once I got hired on at the on the fire department, I slapped the power pole on the back of the thing. Just one, because, well, money. But it had 2 fuel tanks. I only ever burned fuel out of one. I don't even know when I sold the boat if there was fuel in the other fuel tank, because I never put any in it, and I never turned the gauge to burn fuel out of it. So I don't know. I had the boat for, oh my gosh, how long did I have that thing for? Like 3-4 years, I think. And I couldn't even tell you. I just burned gas out of one tank. But that boat, it was 19 feet long. So it was a little bit longer. My buddy Tim, he had an 18-foot Skeeter. And Winnebago is a big body of water. It's 30 miles long, and I think it was 7 miles across at the widest point from like Oshkosh over to Winnebago Point. I might be way off by that, honestly. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've been out there. But it's a big body of water. I mean, you can find it on the map. It's the hole in the middle of Wisconsin. And it gets rough. And in an 18-foot boat, I mean, we did some things that most people probably wouldn't do. But, you know, it was just a little bit more comfortable being in a little bit of a bigger boat. Now, don't get me wrong. We still put ourselves in some situations that were questionable, to say the best. But yeah, we made it work. We were having fun. We were catching a lot of bass. And that is also the boat that I started guiding out of. I guided out on Big Green and go pick up clients in it, take them out, catch a bunch of fish, take them back. And it was just, I did anything and everything I could in that boat, and I made it work. Not very reliable, needless to say. The motor was a 2000. It was the first year of the Optimax. And after a while, it started to have its issues. Another thing, I totally forgot about this though. I totally forgot to put oil in it for like the first couple months that I ran this thing. And all of a sudden, it just stopped working. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Took it to my dad's buddy owns a marina down here, and he works on a lot of older stuff. So I took it to him, and he looked at it. He's like, yeah, there's no oil in it. I'm like, oh, I gotta add oil. Inexperienced, and that cost me a power head. So I had to replace the whole block in that engine. And then later on down the road, electrical issues, compression issues, injector issues. Let's just say that it was a blessing that my mom worked at Mercury, and we could talk to a lot of people, be able to help me out and get that thing fixed and get it right and get it running again. So the engine was like pretty much brand new by the time I sold it. Man, it's just crazy to look back and think about that. I had still had no graphs up front when I sold it. You know, just the one at the console. It was a Lowrance HDS 9. That was the first graph that I had on there. Wasn't always a Garmin guy. Fished my first BFL out of that thing. The first tournament I fished out of that boat in the BFLs, it was my first time ever on pools 10 and 11 on the Mississippi River, and I decided to take that thing from Prairie du Chien almost all the way down to Dubuque, Iowa, and had to stop and get gas once to fill it back up, and then hauled butt back. I ended up finishing in the top 40 out of like 130 some guys I think were in that tournament. And that was one of the tournaments that I'm like, okay, you can compete doing this. And then the next one was on my home waters here on the Wolf River chain. It's Winnebago, Butamore, Winneconne, Poygan, Wolf River, Fox River, a lot of water. And ended up taking third place. So got the momentum rolling quickly and gave me a lot of confidence, kind of made me feel like I knew what I was doing. And it was all because I had a little bit of a bigger boat. You know, when you have a piece of equipment that you just trust, and maybe it was my a little bit of a younger age and ignorance, I just ran that thing as far and as hard as I could, and just to put myself in contention for these tournaments. That's all that I knew what to do. I didn't think about breaking down. I didn't think about, you know, all the other consequences that come with making these longer runs. And let's just say I found out. That boat learned me a lot of things, I'll tell you that. I got broke down on the side of the road because not only did the tire go flat, but the tire came off of the trailer on that one. So I was stuck on the side of the road in a rainstorm on the way back from up north. I mean, it was just endless. The things I learned having that boat was through the roof. I mean, it was a lot of life experience, and it was just fun running in an older boat. I still see a lot of guys running in older boats, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. You're getting yourself out on the water, the boat floats, it's getting you out catching fish. It doesn't really matter what kind of boat you're in. It really doesn't. But I will say I'm super blessed and super happy to be running a Bass Cat now. I mean, this thing is light years ahead of what I started in as far as a bass boat goes. Electronics, reliability of the engine. I mean, it's a 2023 Bass Cat era with a 250 Pro XS, twin power pole blades, Garmin Force trolling motor, 3 Garmin graphs up front, 2 at the console, Bass Boat Technology mounts, Pro Guide batteries, C-Clear power harnesses, power pole charge. Like, it's anything and everything you could want in a boat. But I think running an older boat and having a lot of those issues that I had to deal with and learn to deal with, I mean, that's why I carry tools with me. And I still find out to this day I don't carry enough tools with me. But it definitely gave me an appreciation for the piece of equipment that I'm sitting in right now and where I came from, and learned so much in an older boat on how to handle things on the water, off the water, maintenance of your boat, what's important, and just the value of it all. It was a super good learning lesson running in an older boat, a 1994 Champion. And that hull is still a pretty renowned hull. I know a lot of people are out there looking for them. It was a super good hull, good riding boat. Made me comfortable enough to take it out on the Great Lakes on a calm day, needless to say. But that's the boat that I started in, and then the next step up after that was a Bass Cat era, and I haven't been looking back since. But guys, thanks for watching. You got any questions, let me know, like and subscribe. I'm gonna put the link down below for Bass Cat's website. Head on over there, check out all of the different hull designs that they have. They got a bunch of different models for anyone and everyone, bunch of different sizes. I mean, you can go all the way up to the Jaguar, bigger than 22 foot, and put a 500 racing engine on the back of the thing. All the way down to a Margay. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be, and that's the awesome part about working with the Bass Cat family, is they just love to put people in an awesome boat and get them out on the water however they're comfortable. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.